Hello everyone and welcome to the accounting tutorial of the student company program. Today we are going to take a look of the accounting process, how does it take place in a student company and how complicated it actually is. The accounting process in the student company is actually quite close to the real thing. However, there are certain differences and we are keeping the thing as simple as possible but also as realistic as possible. So it is quite close, but there are certain differences. So if you are a person who is interested in the accounting process for the real company, then you should keep that in mind, that it's not the real representation. However, you can get a good idea of the basics of the accounting from this as well. So to get started, first, let's see what are the tables that concern the accounting. There are quite a number of them, and you can see the most important one on the left here open on my screen in Excel, which is the ledger with cash book. In here we're gonna record all our transactions. So you're gonna see all cash that's received and paid out will get recorded here with balance and date and everything else that's important. And usually this is the foundation of your accounting. Every time you can come here and check what's the current balance with the cash. Do I have any of it, or do I have any sort of bankrupt threat? Moving on, we have the production report. Here you will fill in how many units you produced in your company, and if it's important, also the names of who have produced it. Quite a simple table, just with number of units and date and later total. Nothing really complicated here. As you will see with other tables as well, they might seem complicated at first, but they are actually quite straightforward. Moving on with sales report. Here we're gonna fill in the sales, who did the sale or where did the money come from, as well as when was it recorded with the income. Everything else, commission stuff, I'm gonna talk about a bit later on. With profit statement, usually, well, this is also a really important table for a company, because it will tell us, did we earn profit during this certain period of time, or did the company make loss. Here we have wage report. Here we're gonna calculate the wages for our personnel. A balance sheet, which tells us actually whether our accounting was done correctly. That's a good indication of it. And it also gives a quick overview of all of the assets the company has, all of the liabilities, and the owner's equity. And finally, we have the shareholders in the closing report. Here all the shares are recorded, as well as later when you close your company, you will calculate the dividend payments for the shareholders. So let's get cracking. I'll move on to the ledger again, and on the right you can actually see our exercise for today. So we've prepared it. It's going to take an hour, I think, a bit less perhaps. Let's see how it goes, and we're gonna do it together, so you can see what I'm gonna do and learn from it. But if you wish, you can do it on your own without me, and later you can check the results, whether they look similar. So, shall we get started? Today we have a student company, Peer Pottery, that produces cups from clay. And the student company has 6 members. Caroline is the CEO, and Michael is the production manager. Joseph is the human resource manager, Celicia marketing manager, Maria takes care of the finances, and Stephen takes care of development. As it says, they are all active in production and selling, and they decided to pay 0.5 euros for production of 1 cup and commission of 10% of selling price to the seller for each cup. What it means is whenever a person produces a cup, he will get 0.5 euros for each of them. And the commission of selling of 10% means whenever you make a sale, then from the price the customer paid, you will get 10% to yourself immediately, and the other 90 goes to the company then. 10% meaning from €1, your commission is 10 cents, for example. And managers also get salaries according to their job. CEO gets €2 per month, and other managers €1.5 per month. So this is not connected to the sales or production, is their base salary. So what we can do here, first of all, we can take out the wage report actually and put in the salaries because they will not change. And here I have already filled out at the same time the names of the shareholders of the company and their job descriptions. So what did it say in here? We had a CEO of €2 per month and managers 1.5. So really quickly, if I put in €2, you don't need to put in the currency, just to keep things simple. We can copy it with Excel shortcut over here. Yes, so it is €9.5 in total. That's it for the salary. First step done. In order to raise the let's move on. Yeah, in order to raise the starting capital, SC Pierre Pottery emitted shares in the amount of €120 on the 1st of December. All students invested into their student company equally and obtained the equal number of shares, each of them 2 shares with nominal value of €10. So each student paid €20 for raising the starting capital. Well, for that we also have to record, and we need to take out the shareholders and closing report. So the nominal value of the shares, it says, was €10, and each of them got 2 shares, which means let's put the €10 in. We can also use the Excel shortcut and copy it. And each of them, as it says, got 2 shares. To click like that. Therefore, total amount, each one put their own money into the company was €20, which is recorded over here, and Excel calculated this for me automatically because I have added the necessary calculation formula over there previously. And in total, as it said, €120. We don't need to concern about anything else currently in this report because other things are concerned about closing the company. So it's important you first fill out the nominal values of shares each one got and number of shares everyone with this nominal value paid. So you can also record, like Caroline, for example, 2 times when you have different nominal values of shares. Maybe you had a nominal value of share of €10 and €5, and for example, Caroline got 2 €10 shares and 1 €5 share, so you can record it then twice. You can record her name twice then. But this €120 is also the very first income for the company. So as I mentioned earlier, everything that comes, any money that comes in or goes out of the company has to be registered in the ledger. And this is our very first thing. So we're going to start. It's a really straightforward process. We're going to start from the left and move our way across to the right. Yeah? Before first we have to decide whether this cash was received or paid out. Obviously, in terms of company, it was received. So it has to go to the debit column. What I mean by debit and credit, whenever there is a cash coming out, it is debited. And whenever it's paid out, it is credited. So this is actually an accounting system. The accounting system consists of accounts, and we here have the cash account, and every account has a debit and credit side. I'm not going to go into too much detail about debit and credit, but what it is important to note is that accounting always has a double bookkeeping, meaning that whenever we register a cash going into the debit it also has to find a friend account from nearby over here. And the golden rule is, if we first debited the amount, then now this sum has to be credited. And here we have a few more accounts. So this is the cash account over here. Here we have the share capital account, then we have the sales revenue account, and also some costs accounts. What is important to keep in mind that these are made specially for this kind of company. So these accounts you may change. You're allowed to change. Everyone has to have a share capital account, obviously, and possibly sales revenue. However, but other things, you can adjust them according to your company. So for example, if your company has a lot of marketing costs, you can make a separate account here or add the ones we have here, because it's really easy to keep track of these accounts, and because it will sum up all the transactions from the table down in the bottom. And whenever you are concerned how well what have been my marketing expenses, you can just gonna open your ledger and see what's the number over here. So that's why we have different accounts. But again, back to here. Whenever we debit it, we need to also credit the same thing to somewhere else. And obviously, as this cash that came in is from share capital, then we're going to credit it over here. Yeah? Simple as that. Every debit has to find its credit, and also every credit has to find its debit from another account associated with the money coming in or going out. We're also going to fill in the other parts of the table. So cash balance currently is 120 because the money came in. The date was, let's see, yes, it says here on 1st of December, 01/12, 2016. In terms of invoice, there is no receipt currently associated with the transaction, so we're going to leave it blank right here. But whenever you're going to do the transactions and put them into the ledger, you have to put in also the invoice number you have on the receipt. For example, if you bought something, always keep the invoice as well. Keep the physical receipt with you until the company has been closed. And also put the invoice number to the ledger. So currently we're going to leave it blank. Where did you get it? Well, we can say that we get it from students because they founded the company, or we can also say shareholders, and we got it from shares. Okay, where are we now? On the 2nd of December, they bought 12 shares from J Estonia for 0.03 euros per piece. So altogether, 0.03 times 12 means 36 cents. And this is actually our first expense. So previously, if we recorded the income, we recorded to the debit side of the cash account. Now we're going to record it in the credit account because it was paid out from the company. So 0.36 cents. The new cash balance is 119 euros and 64 cents. And it was done on 2nd of December. Currently, yes, it doesn't specify any invoice, but if you have it, fill it in. It was paid to JA for share forms, and as I said before, the credit has to find its debit. Which one is it? Of course, it is some sort of cost. It's not a production cost because we actually didn't produce anything with it. It is not a salary or wage as well, so it has to be other costs. And credit finds its debit. We're going to record 0.36 over here. The same day, they also paid registration fee of 6 euros to J Estonia. So the same process, cash was paid out. We're going to credit it in the account, 6 euros. The new balance is 113 euros and 64 cents. The date was the same, yeah. We don't have the invoice number. Paid to JA for company registration. And again, credit has to find its debit. It's again other costs. And let's record 6 zeros over here. So where are we now? This one, yeah. For starting with their production, students bought 20 kilograms of clay from the factory on the 4th of December and they paid for it €10.76. So this is the first of the series of production costs. First of all, again, the money goes out, so we credit it to the cash account, €10.76. New balance is €102.88. The date was 4th, yeah? We currently don't have the invoice number, but usually you would have it again with this sort of thing. Paid to the clay factory, obviously for clay, and credit finds its debit. First time in the production costs list, €10.76. Then they rented the pottery from ceramic shop for 1 week and paid for it €20 on the 10th of September. So they paid €20 for the whole period, yeah? Again, we're going to credit it to the cash account. New balance is 82.88. The date was 10th, yeah? No invoice quite right now. Ceramic room or shop for rent of the machine. And again, production costs because the machine will be used for production. Debit finds its credits, €20, it's here. They also paid €30 to the same ceramic shop for using the oven on 15th of December. So another cost, €30, we're gonna credit it. 52.88 is the new balance, date is 15th. It's again the ceramic shop for rent of the oven, yeah? And we can say again that this is the production cost, so we're going to debit it over here. Credit found its debit. Now, they produced 80 cups during 1 week. And it says, Caroline produced 8 cups, Michael 20, Joseph 10, Celeste 12, Maria 15, and Stephen 15. They got their cups from the oven on 15th of December. So, for the first time, we can open now the production report. And as you can see, it's a really simple one. First of all, I've already added the names of the people in the company to save time. And we're just going to write what did they produce. Starting with Michael, 20. Sorry. Caroline, yeah? Caroline 8. Michael 20, Joseph 10, Cecilia 12, Maria 15, and Stephen is 15 as well. And the date is 15 because this is when these came out from the oven. And December 2016, I need to add it once more before I can copy it, otherwise Excel will start to add one day to the date. And there it is. And together they produced 80 cups, as it said here. Excel has already calculated for me as well. We don't have to include it in the ledger because no money transaction goes with the production right now, yeah? On the 18th of December, Christmas fair trade was organized in the regional shopping center by a business school. Student company Peer Pottery decided to participate. The transportation costs were paid by school, but the fee for €6 per company was paid by the students themselves to the business school who organized the event on 16th of December. So again, another really simple paid out cash, €6 over here. The new balance is 46.88. The date was 18th, yeah? Sorry? 16th was the date. 12 to 16. And it was paid to the City College for participation, yeah. And as always, credit has to find its debit. It is not a production cost. It is not a salary of wages, so it has to go the dollar costs in our table, and we're going to add it over here. €6 is done. Moving on, for this money, students got their trade fair stand. Yeah, logical. They bought for €4 some fabric from a cheap shop, Abakan, to decorate the stand on 17th of December. So, another small expense. €4. New Balance 42.88. Date was 17th. No invoice. Abakan. Was it the Abakan? A complicated name, yeah. For fabric. And again, it is another cost because it is not production or salary or wages. On the 18th of December, all students participated at the trade fair and they sold 30 cups with a price of €2.5 per piece. 2 cups were broken on the road. All students were equally occupied with selling. They all got an equal sales commission, 10% from the sales revenue altogether, which was said earlier as well. So let's open the sales report now. And we need to have the names of people here who sold the products. However, as they were equally occupied with selling the products, we don't actually have to add all the names here. We can just say it was a local trade fair where they sold 30 cups. And therefore, their sales income is €75. That's €2.5 per cup times 30. Yeah. And the commission is automatically calculated here. We had a sum of €75 and altogether €7.5 were paid out. That means €1.25 per person. Yep. And again, this is actually money coming into the student company, so we have to account it in the ledger as well. And it is our first income. We can now debit it to the cash account for the first time. So €75 coming in. The balance goes up. It's now €117.88. The date for the trade fair was 18/12/2016. And the money came from customers. And it is sales revenue. And here we have a sales revenue account as well. So here we debited the cash. Now we will credit it. €75. It is there. It is also important to note that 2 cups that were broken on the road does not have to be accounted in the system. Why? Because we actually paid for them already. They are included in all the production costs. And when you break some or don't sell them or give them away as a gift, it's actually just a loss of your potential revenue, not a loss for the company. Therefore, it does not need to be accounted again. Otherwise, it would be a double entrance to the ledger, and this is not what we want to do. The salaries of the first months were calculated and paid out on the 31st of December. So now we can already pay the salaries. Let's open the profit statement. No, sorry, the salary wage report. Wage report, yeah. So here we have the base salaries, which doesn't change, which we filled in the beginning of the exercise. Next we have the bonus. No one gets bonus today. For piece pay, we actually need to make some calculations. So if you remember, the company said that for each product produced, a person will get €0.5 added to his or her salary. And because everyone produced a different number this month, as we can see over here, we actually have to calculate it. And for that, we actually have a table added here as well. So I copied the units produced. I have the people in the same order here. The unit rate is same for everyone, that's 0.5. I'm going to copy it quickly. And it says that Carolyn will get €4, which is the lowest. CEO has been the laziest. And Michael, who has been the most productive guy in the company, will get €10 for the production. So I'm going to copy these things over here. Doesn't work. Let's add them manually then. 4, 10, 5, 6, 7.5 and 7.5. And finally, the sales commission, it is 1.25 for everyone because everyone did the equal amount of work in the trade during the trade fair, and we also have in the sales report filled out 7.5 euros divided by 6 people in the company is 1.25. Let's go back, which means that altogether they paid out 57 euros of salaries. And we have to actually add it to the ledger again because it is money going out from the company. 57 euros, that's 16.88. The date was 31st. It was paid to the students. Sorry, this is invoice. And it is, actually we can say it was based on pay list number 1. So let's add this one as well. And it was salaries, yeah? Salaries. And we have salaries and wages account over here as well. Credit has to find its debit. Over here, 57 euros, it's recorded. As we saw, that CEO got the smallest salary today. And Michael again got the highest, as he produced the most amount because the other numbers were quite equal among the people in the company. Let's see what we have to do next. Fulfill the accounting documents. Did the students get profit or had loss during the first month? How was their financial situation during the end of the month? This means we have to fill in 2 documents. First of all, we're going to take the profit statement. Here we're going to have the income minus cost, and we're going to see whether the company made profit or loss. It's a really intuitive table to fill in, really basic stuff, and we can get all the things from the ledger. And it even says from where we have to look. For sales income, okay, as I said, let's go back to the ledger. We have the sales account over here. Down below it says 75 euros. Let's put this thing in as the income. This is the only income we have. We don't include the shares because this is not actually the income, it is the foundation capital of the company. Then we have to fill in the salaries. If you remember, these were 57 euros, but also again you can check it from the ledger, from the salaries account. It is 57 euros down below over here. Moving on, we have the material costs and production costs. Let's get it from the ledger. It is 60.76. Add it over here. And finally, we need to get the other costs from the ledger, which are here, 16.36. So we can conclude that the company actually made a loss of 59.12 euros because the total costs overweigh the income by 59 euros. Well, some people would panic, but I would suggest not to panic because this is really normal. During the first few months of the operation of the company, a loss is actually, inevitable. You can't do anything about it. Usually you have more starting costs which you will not have again in the future. So this is really normal. I think you should not panic. But we have one more document to fill in before we can conclude this first one, and this is the balance sheet. The balance sheet, as I said, gives an overview of assets, liabilities and owner's equity, and it's a really good form. And in this form you can actually even check whether you made the accounting all correct. Let's see whether we did it or not. First of all, let's fill in the assets form. We need to get the cash from the ledger. So current balance is 60.88 euros. Let's fill that in. We don't actually have any materials and products in the so-called warehouse because in this type of ledger system, we already deduct them in the cost. And if we would include them in the material and products row over here, it would give us false results. That would again mean that we have a double entrance. So even if you have the materials and products in your warehouse, just don't account them in the balance sheet because they are actually included already in the cash balance. Yeah. And for fixed assets, this company doesn't have any sort of machinery there or anything else. For liabilities and owner's equity, we don't have any loans. The share capital, if you remember, was 120 euros. This doesn't change. And for profit or loss, if you remember, we had from the profit statement minus 59 euros and 12 cents. So it was a loss. Let's enter this here. And as you can see, the golden rule of the accounting, that assets have to equal the liabilities and owner's equity, is fulfilled over here. 60 euros and 88 cents over here and 60 euros and 88 cents over here. This concludes our first part of the exercise. In the second part, we're gonna see whether the company will come out of its loss and earn profit at the end for the shareholders. What are more advanced things to keep in mind for accounting, and also how do you close the company at the end of your year. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you really soon in the part 2 of the exercise. Take care.